Chosen one, you are not here by accident. This moment is a divine summons, a spiritual interception, a holy interruption in your timeline, because heaven has something to say to you right now. Chosen one, the realms that have been watching you rise in silence have aligned this exact second for your spirit to awaken, for your discernment to sharpen, for your destiny to shift. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural financial breakthrough, a divine wealth transfer already moving in your direction, already carrying your name in the spirit. Anointed one, what you feel stirring inside you is not emotion, not imagination, it is confirmation. For the scripture says, "The blessing of the Lord makes rich and adds no sorrow with it," and that blessing is hovering over your life in this very moment. Something holy is opening. Something ancient is unlocking. Something heaven-ordained is moving toward you with force. Chosen one, this message is not entertainment. It is an activation, a prophetic declaration meant to shake your atmosphere and prepare your spirit for what is about to unfold. Lean in. Slow your breathing. Let your soul receive what heaven has been waiting to release. Your steps are ordered, your timing is perfect, and your breakthrough is already in motion. Chosen one, listen closely, because what is rising inside you right now is not emotion, and it is not imagination, it is confirmation, a holy stirring, a spiritual signal that heaven has already begun shifting things on your behalf long before you had the language to describe what you were feeling. You've been sensing this movement, this pressure, this tightening, this awareness, because what you are walking through is not confusion, it is revelation. Heaven is exposing the illusions you were never meant to live under. Masks are slipping, energies are revealing themselves. Conversations that once comforted you now feel strange, and places that used to feel familiar now feel spiritually too small for who you're becoming. Anointed one, this is happening because you are not just waking up, you are being reintroduced to who you have always been. The version of you beneath the conditioning, beneath the guilt, beneath the expectations others placed on your shoulders for years. And this reintroduction has left people around you in awe, because somewhere in the silence of your transformation, you figured out things they never expected you to understand. You saw through systems designed to contain you. You recognized emotional tactics meant to control you. You caught patterns they thought you were too naive to notice. While others bowed to the illusion, you saw the glitch in the spirit behind the smile. You were not being dramatic or sensitive. You were being alerted. Chosen one, I know this season because I have walked through it myself. I know exactly what it feels like to step into a room where nothing looks wrong, but something feels wrong. I know what it's like to hear words that sound loving, but the energy behind them is cold. I know the inner tension of smiling politely while your spirit is whispering, "Pay attention." And the more I tried to ignore those whispers, the louder the truth became. That's when I learned a divine secret. Awakening doesn't begin with lightning, it begins with discomfort. And that discomfort is the sign that heaven has begun calling you out of places your spirit has outgrown. And, chosen one, that is exactly what happened to you. You didn't stumble onto the truth, you observed your way into it. You didn't expose anyone, you allowed their own actions to reveal who they were. You didn't get louder, you got more discerning. While they talked, you listened. While they performed, you watched. While they assumed you were blind, you were collecting spiritual evidence. Not in your hands, but in your spirit. This is what stunned them. This is what left them whispering. This is why they are in awe of you now. Because you didn't decode the illusion with anger, you decoded it with awareness. You started recognizing guilt as manipulation. You started seeing loyalty as a leash. You started noticing that their kindness was something they performed, not something they carried. And when you stopped responding the way they expected, they panicked. They called you distant. They called you rebellious. They called you changed. But you were not rebelling. You were remembering. Your soul was remembering the truth it carried long before anyone tried to shape you into something smaller. Your spirit was remembering the authority heaven placed in you before life taught you to shrink. And now people can feel that remembrance when you walk into a room. They can sense the clarity, the alignment, the authority rising off of you. Your presence has become a mirror, and mirrors terrify people who have lived behind masks. But here is the sacred truth heaven needs you to hear. Your awakening is not random. It is directly connected to your elevation. The same clarity that exposed the lie is the same clarity positioning you for a divine financial shift, a supernatural promotion, a wealth transfer that deception cannot block and manipulation cannot steal. Heaven does not release abundance into deceived hands. But you are no longer deceived. You have stepped into alignment, and alignment always attracts provision. Chosen one, now that heaven has awakened your spirit, something even deeper has begun unfolding inside you, something most people will never experience in their lifetime. Your clarity didn't just sharpen, it expanded. Your discernment didn't just grow, it stretched beyond the natural into the supernatural. And that is why you've started recognizing patterns that once controlled you. Your peace now rejects what your old self tolerated. Your intuition speaks louder than the noise around you. Your spirit refuses to settle for what once satisfied you. This is not attitude. This is not ego. This is elevation. Anointed one, what you walked out of was not small. It was generational. It was spiritual. It was a systemic pattern designed to hold you in a place that heaven never assigned to you. The heaviness you felt wasn't random, it was inherited. The confusion you battled wasn't your own, it belonged to the generations before you. The expectations that suffocated you were rooted in wounds that didn't start with you. But the moment heaven awakened you, the invisible chains that wrapped around your mind, your identity, and your spirit began to crack. You didn't just escape the illusion, you outgrew it. And I know this process, chosen one. I lived it. I know what it feels like when the people around you want you to stay who you used to be, because that version of you kept them comfortable. I know what it feels like to question every belief you inherited, because your spirit keeps whispering, "This doesn't fit anymore." I know the loneliness of untangling yourself from patterns that everyone around you accepted as normal. And I know the exact moment when awakening shifts from confusion to clarity, when you suddenly realize that you were never the problem. You were the pattern breaker, the cycle shifter, the one chosen to dismantle what everyone else learned to survive. Chosen one. This is why heaven has been refining you in silence, because what is on your life is not ordinary. The reason you had to sit in those quiet rooms, questioning everything. The reason heaven isolated you from certain environments, the reason relationships fell away, even when you tried to hold on to them, is because your calling could not breathe in places built on deception. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to see through. And you did. While others were fooled by charisma, you sensed the spirit behind the person. While others trusted titles, you trusted energy. While others heard words, you listened to intention. Heaven sharpened your inner radar until deception became loud and truth became unmistakable. You began to recognize manipulation before the first sentence ended. You felt dishonesty before the lie was even spoken. You sensed jealousy before the insult was ever delivered. This is not paranoia. This is spiritual intelligence, a gift that is awakened, not taught. And chosen one, This is why they are in awe of you now, because once your eyes opened, you could never go back to seeing the world the way they do. Once your spirit awakened, you became immune to the tactics that once controlled you. You stopped responding to the performance. You stopped falling for apologies that never came with change. You stopped entertaining people who crave access to your energy, but don't carry the integrity to stand near your calling. And your silence, your stillness, your refusal to react has shaken the very people who once underestimated you. Anointed One, understand this deeply. Your new level of discernment is not accidental. Heaven sharpened you because what is coming next requires precision, divine wealth, divine opportunity, divine positioning. These blessings cannot be placed in the hands of someone who cannot recognize who is for them and who is against them. God had to make sure your spirit could differentiate between an assignment and a distraction, between a partner and a parasite, between a covenant connection and a counterfeit opportunity. This is why the emotional pressure increased. This is why the spiritual warfare intensified. This is why every false relationship was exposed all at once. Heaven was clearing your environment because the blessing coming to you requires a purified circle. The next season of your life is too valuable to be shared with unaligned people. Your elevation requires separation. But here is the part heaven needs you to grasp with your whole spirit. Your discernment is the vault protecting your divine wealth transfer. Your clarity is the shield over your breakthrough. Your intuition is the alarm system guarding your destiny. Heaven is preparing to place something rare, something sacred, something powerful into your hands, and your spirit had to mature before you could receive it. Chosen One, now that heaven has sharpened your discernment and purified your atmosphere, something even more powerful is beginning to unveil itself in your spirit. You are starting to realize that the battle you've been fighting was never just personal. It was ancestral. You were born into patterns, expectations, and emotional contracts that shaped your identity long before you understood what was happening. The heaviness you carried as a child, the confusion you felt growing up, the pressure you battled for years, none of it was random. You were wrestling against spiritual systems that existed in your bloodline long before you arrived. And yet, out of everyone in your lineage, you are the one heaven awakened. You are the one whose eyes opened. You are the one who saw the pattern for what it truly was. Anointed One. This is why your journey felt so intense. This is why the emotional warfare was so fierce. You weren't just breaking free for yourself. You were breaking chains that generations before you could not. You were dismantling beliefs rooted in wounds that were never healed. You were pulling down strongholds that were disguised as traditions, and the moment you began questioning what everyone else accepted as normal, you became the one thing the system could not control: aware. Heaven chose you as the interruption because the cycle had gone on long enough. And I understand this season more deeply than you know. There was a time in my own life when I thought silence was noble, when I thought endurance meant loyalty, when I believed keeping the peace meant sacrificing myself. I thought suppressing my intuition made me humble. But awakening taught me that peace built on suppression is not peace at all. It is a cage. And the moment I realized that, everything around me shifted. The same shift is happening inside you. You felt the discomfort before you understood the revelation. You sensed the misalignment before you could name the pattern. And that is why your transformation has caused tension in places that once embraced you. You were never meant to conform. You were meant to break the cycle. Chosen One. When you finally stepped out of the generational programming, heaven took notice. The moment you challenged the emotional rules you inherited, something broke in the spirit. The moment you chose truth over tradition, healing over loyalty, alignment over obligation. The entire spiritual structure around your bloodline began to tremble. You broke patterns your family accepted for decades. You healed wounds your ancestors carried in silence. You confronted dynamics others surrendered to, and heaven honored you for it. This is why you feel different now. This is why people react to your presence without understanding why. Your energy no longer matches the old you. Your spirit is no longer entangled in what once drained you. Your mind is no longer controlled by beliefs that once silenced you. You have stepped into a higher spiritual frequency, one that people who remain blind cannot comprehend. And because of that, your very presence exposes the truth in others. Your clarity confronts their confusion. Your healing confronts their wounds. Your confidence confronts their insecurity. You are not intimidating, they are confronted. And here is the sacred truth, chosen one. Your awakening has unlocked restoration. Everything that was delayed, everything that was stolen through silence, guilt, manipulation, or spiritual blindness, heaven is preparing to return it to you, multiplied. The clarity you carry is not just spiritual, it is a magnet for divine compensation. Your ability to see through deception qualifies you to steward abundance. Your capacity for truth qualifies you for elevation. Your obedience, your willingness to walk away, to question, to heal, to honor what your spirit revealed, has unlocked blessings your ancestors prayed for but never reached. Anointed One, you are not just healing, you are rewriting history. You are not just evolving. You are restoring what belonged to your bloodline. You are not just surviving. You are stepping into inheritance. And heaven is not subtle about it. The spiritual realm shifts when you move. Angels respond when you speak. Favor follows you without effort. Opportunities pull themselves toward your alignment. This is the power of the chosen. This is the mantle that rests upon you. And this is only the beginning of what heaven is preparing to release. Chosen One, now that heaven has awakened your authority and restored what your lineage lost, another layer of your transformation is unfolding, one that is even more misunderstood, even more powerful, and even more undeniable. Heaven has begun revealing the true purpose behind your silence. To the outside world, you looked quiet, gentle, even unsure. People assumed your stillness meant you didn't understand what was happening. They mistook your patience for ignorance and your humility for weakness. They thought you were easy to read, easy to sway, easy to manipulate. But what they didn't realize was that heaven had placed you into a divine posture. Your silence was never emptiness, it was strategy. Anointed One, your spirit was listening when your mind didn't yet have the words. You were learning the patterns without confronting them. You were observing the motives without reacting to them. You were gathering spiritual data at a level most people never access. Every inconsistency, every shift in tone, every contradiction, every subtle change in energy, you noticed all of it. Not because you were suspicious, but because heaven was sharpening your discernment in the shadows. Your silence allowed people to expose themselves without you lifting a finger. And heaven allowed it, because your assignment required you to see their truth, not the version they performed. I know this posture, chosen one. I've lived it myself. There was a time when people around me believed I was naive, that I didn't notice the lies, the half-truths, the emotional traps. They assumed I was lost, when in reality, I was learning. I was watching. I was being trained internally for spiritual accuracy. And eventually, I discovered the same truth you are discovering now. When you stay silent long enough, people become comfortable enough to reveal who they truly are. And the moment you see their true face, the illusion collapses. Chosen One, this is why heaven honored your silence. You didn't react, You refined. You didn't argue. You ascended. You didn't expose anyone. You simply removed your energy, and their entire strategy fell apart. Your silence disarmed manipulators. It frustrated those who relied on guilt to control you. It confused those who thought deception would keep you blind. They expected you to play the old role, the role that served them. But when you stopped responding, they lost access. Your growth disrupted the dynamic they relied on. And this is what truly terrifies them. You didn't just grow, you outgrew their entire playbook. They cannot guilt you anymore. They cannot shame you anymore. They cannot lure you back into cycles you have healed from. You are too discerning, too aligned, too spiritually anchored. You have learned that not every battle deserves your energy, and not every person deserves your proximity. This is not coldness, it is clarity. This is not arrogance, it is ascension. Anointed One, heaven used your silence as a classroom. It taught you how jealousy operates behind politeness, how manipulation dresses itself in concern, how insecurity disguises itself as authority, how dishonesty hides behind spiritual language. You learned these lessons without confrontation, without chaos, without stepping out of character. You learned by watching, not by fighting. And because of this, your wisdom carries a depth that cannot be shaken. This is why your presence feels heavier now, why the room shifts when you walk in, why some people look nervous when you speak. You carry an authority they cannot explain, a clarity they cannot manipulate, a purity they cannot fake. Your spirit is too sharp for deception to survive near you. Your alignment is too strong for chaos to enter your life unnoticed. You have become spiritually untouchable, not because you force it, but because heaven trained you to recognize danger before it forms. Chosen One, understand this. Your silence was not a setback, it was preparation. Heaven was strengthening your discernment because the next level of your calling requires precision. The opportunities coming your way demand that you recognize who belongs with you and who cannot go forward. Heaven needed to ensure your heart was steady, your spirit was sharp, and your intuition was undeniable. And now, because you passed the private test, heaven is ready to release the public blessing. Everything you learned in the shadows is about to become your advantage in the light. Everything revealed to you in silence will guide your steps in the season of elevation. And the very people who underestimated you will soon wonder how you figured all of this out, never realizing that heaven was teaching you the entire time. Chosen One, now that heaven has sharpened your discernment and strengthened your spirit, you are stepping into a realm where everything in your life begins to accelerate. This is not random momentum, this is divine orchestration. The season you are entering is the very season your past self prayed for, cried for, and was prepared for in silence. People around you will call it sudden, but nothing about this is sudden. Heaven has been aligning your steps long before your elevation became visible. Anointed One, every delay you endured, every closed door, every moment you felt overlooked, it all served a purpose. Heaven was protecting what was being planted within you. You were hidden, not forgotten. You were being trained, not rejected. You were being refined, so that when the blessing arrived, you would have the maturity, clarity, and spiritual intelligence to carry it. The weight of your calling required depth, and that depth was formed in private battles no one knew you were fighting. I've walked through this transition myself. I know the feeling when everything inside you starts shifting at once. Your mindset changes, your boundaries strengthen, your tolerance for nonsense disappears. You're not becoming cold, Chosen One. You're becoming clear. You're not becoming detached. You're becoming aligned. You're not losing people. You're losing limitations. Heaven is preparing you for rooms your old self could never have survived in. And hear this clearly. Your elevation is not just spiritual, it is financial. Heaven is transferring resources, opportunities, and favor into your hands because you can now be trusted with what you once prayed for. Your discernment has matured, your judgment has sharpened, your heart has been purified through fire. You will not misuse what heaven is releasing. You will not squander blessing out of desperation. You will not let manipulation disguise itself as loyalty ever again. This financial shift is strategic. It is connected directly to your calling, chosen one. This is why your relationships have shifted. People have fallen away, not because you did something wrong, but because heaven is removing anyone who cannot handle your next level. Not everyone is meant to witness your promotion. Not everyone is meant to have access to your abundance. God is cleaning your circle so your blessing won't be drained the moment it arrives. This is divine protection disguised as separation. And something else is happening. The weight you carry is growing. Not the weight of burden, but the weight of authority. When you walk into a room now, people feel it before you speak. Your presence exposes what is false. Your silence reveals what is hidden. Your clarity unsettles those who rely on confusion to control others. You are no longer someone who can be manipulated, softened, or steered off purpose. Your spirit has anchored itself in truth. Chosen one. Everything you survived, every heartbreak, every betrayal, every lonely night, was shaping the version of you that stands here today. Heaven used your pain like a chisel, carving away every insecurity, every illusion, every false identity. And now, you are standing in the fullness of who you were always meant to become. This elevated version of you is what your blessing has been waiting for. They are in awe of you because you rose in silence. You healed without announcing it. You separated without bitterness. You awakened without needing to prove anything. And now, the rise you are stepping into cannot be stopped, slowed, or sabotaged. This is divine timing. This is divine restoration. This is divine promotion. And chosen one, this is only the beginning. Chosen one. As we close this message, pause and feel what is rising in your spirit. This is not emotion. This is confirmation. You have stepped into your Kairos moment, the exact divine timing heaven prepared for you. The supernatural transfer has already begun. The clarity, the peace, the strength wrapping around your soul right now are signs that heaven has already moved on your behalf. Anointed one, walk forward with reverence. What is coming toward you is sacred. Guard your alignment. Protect your spirit. Stay anchored in gratitude as the manifestation unfolds. If this word awakened something deep within you, let it be known in the comments, so another chosen one can recognize their moment. And if your spirit felt seen today, stay connected here. This space is for those heaven is elevating in silence. This is not an ending. This is activation. Walk boldly. Rise fully. You are chosen. You are covered. You are becoming.